All right, there you go. Go.
Hi, everybody. It's Shawn Hubbell here at Soon's Orchard at our farm dinner. Say hi, everybody. Today we are making a quick dish of sauteed mushrooms with zucchini and tomatoes. And so we're going through our farm dinner. We do this once a month, second Friday of every month, except for this month because I had to take at least one vacation this year. And so what we're doing is we have a little saute pan with a little olive oil in it, and we're gonna have some mushrooms going. We can cut them up into quarters. In this case, if they're really big, for the most case, you can cut them in just half. But what I find is that the number one thing that people do when you're cooking mushrooms is you'll buy this thing of white mushrooms, right? And you cut them all up, and it's like this big bowl like this. And you want to fit that whole big bowl into this little tiny pan all at once, and we're getting some people laughing and everything else because they've already done it before. All right? So what we're going to do is, my first recommendation is get the pan hot, and usually I put one in. If you start seeing sizzling and that sort of stuff going on in the pan, can you see that? Yes, you can. What we're going to do is we keep on going. If it didn't do that, we would take the mushroom out, and we would let the pan get a little bit hotter. All right? So we're going to put in.
It's pretty subtle sizzling.
Yeah, that's just the fact that it's not super even.
Yeah,
but we're good to go. All right. So the first thing that everybody wants to do is put too many mushrooms in the pan. If you can see from here, our mushrooms aren't super crowded on top. That's our first thing that we want to avoid. And then what we're going to do is we are going to. What's my salt got taken away? No.
Oh no.
All right, so we're just going to lightly season the mushrooms. We're going to toss them once. And for those of you who want to do that at home, start with rice or beans in the pan over the sink. And do that so you don't make a super big mess. And then, so what we're going to do is we're going to put those into the pan, and then we're going to let them cook. Most people, especially when you're cooking mushrooms, you have like a wooden spoon or a spatula in your hand, and you got to mess with it and sit there and toss it and mix it. Let it sear, let it cook, and see, he's laughing over there because that's what he does at home. All right? So what we're going to do is from here is we're going to take our zucchini, and I prep the zucchini in a little bit different fashion. I cut it in half like so, and then we're going to cut it down another way, so we're quartering it. And what this does is it exposes the inner seeds the best that we possibly can. And then we're going to take those inner seeds and we're just going to cut them out. Now what happens, the reason that I do this is just to be a little bit more fancy. But what the main reason that we do it is because those seeds end up getting kind of mushy and that sort of stuff. And sometimes people don't like that. All right? So at home for my kids, they get the seeds. They can deal with it. All right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut these on a little bit of a bias. So we have little, and what I've seen people do is they'll cut them like so, and they'll replace it, instead of penne pasta, they'll do this, and they'll say, oh, it's vegetable pasta. I don't agree with that, but, you know, whatever. All right? So once again, we're going to just cut the seeds out. Cut it on a little bit of a bias. And what this does is that it allows for the texture to stay with the zucchini, and we minimize our texture differences and that sort of stuff. Okay? Now, as you can see in the pot, the mushrooms are starting to really cook in there. A lot of that oil has been soaked into the mushrooms, I guess you could say. And I'm starting to see little corners and edges that have some browning. We're going to continue letting that go until it gets nice and brown. And we're going to put this right here.
Now, did you wash the mushrooms? That's always the big thing.
So I personally don't like to wash the mushrooms. Okay. I find that when you wash the mushrooms, they end up cooking a little bit differently. So these mushrooms are really great because they're usually grown in sawdust bags. A lot of times people think that the black stuff that is on white mushrooms that you find in the stores is like feces or something like that. Why is it? There's no way that they would ever let anybody serve anything like that on vegetables at the store. But I usually, one of the wonderful jobs that I had in one of the super fancy kitchens that I worked in was cleaning mushrooms, and they had the mushroom brush. It was really a toothbrush, and you would sit there and have to, like, each individual mushroom would sit there, and it was one of the greatest jobs I've ever done. All right, so now that I'm starting seeing some browning, what we're going to do is we're just going to toss these, and as you can see, they are nice and brown and colorful, and then we're going to add in our zucchini on top. All right, and the wonderful things about these pans is it's either hot or off. Once again.
Yes, at home it's usually not like that.
So we're going to sit there and we're just going to toss these. Now, the one thing that I do find people do with most of their vegetables is you overcook them. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mushy Brussels sprouts?
No.
Overcooked. All right? Mushy anything. If you don't like that texture, guess what? You overcooked it. Cook it less next time. All right? So we're going to have that. And then, like I said, this has its own little sauce in it, right? So where do you get your sauce from? Wonderful, beautiful, ripe tomatoes. So we're going to take one of these beef steaks.
Well, you got your first thumbs up, Shawn.
Oh, wow.
How about some love, guys?
All right,
we have 20 people watching. How about some hearts?
What we're going to do is we're going to cut the tomatoes up into little rough dice now.
Hearts. We want hearts.
Ooh, hearts.
Somebody says yummy. I can almost smell it.
All right.
Totally, Linda. We're with you.
Right when this starts going.
Oh, there's some hearts. Oh,
all right.
That's so nice.
We're going to take our tomatoes and add them into the pan. And what I'm finding is that my saute pan, the handle's getting really hot.
More hearts. Thank you for the hearts, everyone.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to let this cook down. It's going to create its own little sauce in the pan. And that's our vegetable dish that we're going to be serving with today.
Yay.
Okay? Great piece of chicken.
Should we end there, you think?
And then what we're going to be serving on top of the chicken as our sauce is, I have these little guys right here. I wanted to add this because it adds texture, but it also adds acidity. I always find acidity on a dish always brings out the flavor. You don't have to over salt or anything like that. I think Donan's the one that's giving us the hearts over there. He's on his phone.
He just said Donan is watching.
All right, there you go. So what these are pickled mustard seeds. I love the flavor of mustard with chicken. All right, we take mustard seeds, we cook them in a little bit of vinegar and water with a little bit of salt, and we cook them until they're really nice and tender, but they have this great little crunch and pop and that sort of stuff. We're going to serve that over the top of the chicken as our sauce, and it's going to be really great and everything else. So that concludes our Facebook Live. Everybody.
So how do you know when this is done, Shawn?
So when it's done.
Oh, I knew you would say that.
All right, so what's going to happen is little by little, and now it's off, and it's not hot.
Oh.
But what's going to happen is the tomatoes are going to start breaking down. The tomato, it's going to make its own little sauce in it, and it's going to start bubbling a little bit, and that's kind of when it's going. Now, what you can do is, the most important thing about knowing when it's actually done, you got to do what again?
Taste it.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to get in here, we're going to taste it, make sure the zucchini isn't raw, but it's cooked, so that's a personal liking. Some people like it a little more tender, people like it a little bit more crunchy, or whatever that may be. The zucchini is perfectly fine raw. You can eat it like that, so it's not going to kill you. And it's a matter of taste and that sort of stuff from here. We like it to where it's just al dente, to where it's nice and soft, but there's a little bite in the middle. Yeah. That's how we're going to serve it tonight. All right. So that's pretty much it.
That's it.
And for
Say
all
bye,
of you,
everybody.
all those watching,
thank you. Yeah, some people in the room were sending hearts. See you next time, guys.
All right. So